I'm very excited to talk to you guys about credits in ArcGIS Online. Credits is definitely a hot topic amongst our user base. Lots of questions, lots of confusion. So I hope that today I'm able to kind of clear some of that up for you. As Keith mentioned, I want to kind of give like a brief overview of how credits work, how we manage, excuse me, how we manage them as an administrator, how credit consumers use them, what the benefits are, all that good stuff. Make sure my PowerPoint's clicking through. There we go. So I want to go through that all with you. And then like Keith mentioned, I do really want to make this like an open discussion. So I'm going to go through kind of what I know, what I think you should know. But I want to do less talking at you, and I'd love to hear your concerns, get your feedback, answer those burning questions that you do have. So for technical questions, you know, I will definitely do the best that I can. I used to be an analyst, and then I was a technical lead. I've now stepped into our product advocacy position. So I've had a lot of technical background, but if I can't answer something, I'm always happy to connect with you after via email so we can continue this conversation. So as I mentioned, I'm going to go through understanding credits. What are credits? When do we use credits? What are the benefits of credits? And then some of those tips and tricks, and then a Q&A. So understanding credits, first off, what are credits? Well, credits are the currency that's used in ArcGIS Online for users to gain access to additional resources. So when you purchase an ArcGIS Online subscription, you're receiving access to an organization, right? Which is like a web portal that allows you to start accessing ArcGIS Online features. Well, within this organization, there are several things that Esri is managing and maintaining for you behind the scenes, right? We're curating content, we're processing data, and we are managing those servers for you. So the credits are like a fee that users pay to access those Esri managed servers, the process data, and the curated content. So anytime we talk about this curated content, premium features, we're talking about those things that will cost credits. And the reason we do this, right, what's the benefit? Why are we doing this? Is because we are doing a lot of maintenance behind the scenes, right? Like I mentioned, we are maintaining those servers, we are processing data, providing data. There's so many different things that can be done across ArcGIS Online. It's so incredibly vast that credits enable us to only charge you for the portion of the software that you're using. So we kind of think of this as like a rideshare software, or a rideshare program. So you're not really responsible for the cost of the car or the cost of its maintenance. You just call up for a car or ride whenever you need one. If you want the car, if you want to purchase the car, that's why we have ArcGIS Enterprise, where you're hosting all of those things behind your firewall. You're doing the maintenance and the maintaining of your geodatabases. But again, what credits are allowing us to do, and they're enabling us to just charge you for that portion that you're using. I kind of think of it almost like monopoly money too, where it's like you're paying into an account that's, you know, you have your credits account and then you just pull out of it when you need it. I don't want to get too much into like the numbers of like how much exactly credits cost and all of that. That's not exactly my expertise. I'd be more than happy to connect you with those folks if you have those questions. But I'm again happy to talk about it kind of in a more general how much the credits will cost for the feature rather than how much credits cost like American dollars wise. So that's kind of, again, an overview of what credits are, why we use them, what the benefits are. So what costs credits, right? What does cost credits and what does not cost credits? The big things I want to highlight, the things that don't cost credits. So you purchase your ArcGIS Online subscription, like I said, you get into your organization, and then you can use our Living Atlas base map and imagery online free of charge. You can take a look at that data. You can do, you know, looking around. You can export some of that data free of charge. If you create data within ArcGIS Online, right, you maybe want to plot a couple of points, export that data off of online, that is free of charge. Doing some single address or place searches, kind of like, you know, if you're just routing to near supermarkets or something like that, you want to look up a location, that's going to be free of charge. It's when you start doing like batch analysis and when you start extracting a lot of data, that's what's going to cost you credits, right? So those things will be I have mentioned here, like performing analytics. When we think of that, that's like geocoding, where we, input a set of addresses and we want to place all of them on the map at the exact location they are. Something like that's going to cost you credits. Other things are going to be, routing is going to cost you credits. Creating like a route from one location to another. There's a whole list of capabilities. I'm going to open up that doc and show you after I kind of go through the brief of what does cost. Other things, storing features. So again, when we're talking about you having access to ArcGIS Online, this web portal, hosting content is a big thing that is going to kind of consistently charge you credits. That's going to happen sort of behind the scenes. If you're hosting content in ArcGIS Online, and what that means is if you have like an item in ArcGIS Online, whether it's a feature layer, a web map, those things over time are going to charge credits. Now, the larger your data is, the more credits is going to cost for storage, right? So imagery, rasters, tiles, those are big items. They take up a lot of space in a server, and so it's going to cost more credits. It's going to cost more money to store those. So those are some things just to keep in mind if you are storing a lot of content. Features, points, lines, polygons, that's going to be kind of a minimal credit charge. But then, like I said, those bigger things like rasters and imagery that has a lot of detail, takes up a lot of space. It's going to cost you more. Using premium content. So these are going to be things like if you want to like enrich data, or you want to get like reports off of business analysts and get some census data or things like that. That's going to be like your premium content. That's the specially curated data that Esri has and provides for you. That's going to cost you that currency, that fee to access it, and not all of it, right? Like I said, since it's such a, ArcGIS Online is so vast and it's used for such a wide variety of things, rather than charging you for the whole lot of content and features ahead of time, you're paying for this bundle of credits and then you just are using them as you need them. So I do want to open up this doc here and I want to show you. So this documentation here, I'm going to provide you these slides as well because I have a lot of great links and things that I'd love you guys to refer to. This is going to be a great page we're going to want to bookmark to take a look at for how much things cost, right? So this top one here, we have feature storage. Just to give you an example, that's like points, lines, and polygons. Anything that's just kind of general data with, an attribute table, doesn't have anything super fancy. That's going to cost you, for example, 2.4 credits per 10 megabytes. Stored per month, calculated hourly. So what that means is that we are querying your organization like every hour to check what's in there. So if you only have some data in there for like 10 minutes, you get it in there and you delete it, you're not going to get charged for that. We calculate it hourly. We take a look at what you have. If you only have some stuff in there for half a day, couple hours, you're only going to get charged for those couple hours. You won't get charged for like a whole day's worth of storage. So that's kind of nice because where it's not like automatically, oh, you're going to be charged for something as soon as you make it. You can be kind of, smart about it that way. If you know that you don't want to host this data, you just want to create it, export it, and get it offline, that's a great way to save credits if that works into your workflow. So yeah, again, I highly recommend you kind of go through and peruse this to kind of get an idea of what things do cost. Like I said, there's a wide variety of things that can be done across ArcGIS Online, and users use them for different things. So maybe geocoding isn't even relevant to you. That's why we don't want to charge you for geocoding. You're only going to get charged when you use it. Same with, multi-vehicle routes or geo-enrichment. So, whatever is going to be what your workflow is doing, these are the things you're gonna want to pay attention to. So I wanted to go over just real quick some tips for you credit consumers, people who maybe don't necessarily have to worry about, managing the credits, and you're not even worried about the budget or anything. You're just using credits. Some things that you can think about when you're using credits: monitor your personal usage. So you can, in your ArcGIS Online account, when you log in, if you go to your profile, if you have a credit budget listed there, that's where it's going to be. So keeping kind of in contact with whoever is, telling you about credits, or your administrator, knowing if you have a credit budget, that would be, that's super helpful. First off, do I have to worry about this? And you can monitor your usage. And then similarly, budgeting. when you go to run an analysis, there is an option to check for the credit estimates. So I will just show you this really quick. If I open up, I'm going to open up the classic map viewer since that's where we have analysis right now. And if I'm just going to look for any old layer. I know this one is available. Okay, it's a nice old point layer. I want to do some analysis. Let's do a little data enrichment. All right, I have my layer here. I'm going to select my variable. I want the population of, a mile radius around these points. Cool. So right here, I have the show credits option. So it's a little small, right? You might kind of just go through, oh, okay, run analysis. Well, keep in mind this little, button here, show credits. This is really nice because this is going to show you exactly how many credits you're spending. So, and you can see this is really minimal, right? I'm doing a data enrich. I'm getting 109 records that will show me what the population is around these points. It's only costing me 1 credit. So that's pretty minimal. As opposed, compared to some things like storage costs can be, or tile generation can be a little bit more, but for analysis and things like that, you can do quick estimates like that. And I highly recommend you do that if that's something you have to be concerned with. Oh. Okay. And then lastly, for credit consumers, plan to understand what does and does not consume credit. So like I said, reference that documentation, take a look at what things do and do not consume credits. Be aware of if something is going to consume credits, bookmark that doc and just keep note of how your credits are being spent. Tips for administrators. So you admins who have to actually manage this or stick to your department's budget and things like that. Also monitoring your organizational usage via the status report page. So I'm going to show you that. If you are in your organization, and I am logged in as an administrator, so you'll see admins what I see here. If you go to your organization tab. Oh, it's always when you're presenting, right? Things like to be slow. There we go. And if you go to your organization tab, you can either click this status option or this view status option here. And this is going to give you a whole list of what everybody's spending and how people are spending credits in your organization. So this is kind of just a test org that we use. So you might not see as much, day-to-day usage as you would typically see, in a regular org, maybe like, your guys' org. But if I take a look here, I can actually look at like a breakdown, right? So I'm seeing here that a lot of credits that have been spent recently, 1,600 credits were spent on analytics. But analytics can mean a lot of things, right? That can mean geocoding, that can mean vehicle routing. But if I take a look a little bit deeper, I can click and I can see, okay, somebody spent 1,600 credits on geocoding. If I wasn't too thrilled with that or wanted to maybe talk to that person and figure out, hey, that's just with a little bit outside of our budget, I can also click this and then I can see, who did some geocoding. And if I'm seeing, okay, well, I want to make sure I talk to this person, make sure, so you can get really deep into what you're seeing, who's spending what, etc., which is incredibly helpful if you have budgets to stick to credit-wise. Credit budgeting is also an option that you can enable in the settings of your organization. This is a great option if I'm just going to keep this off here because I want to show you this instead. If you go to your settings as an admin, you can come to your credits tab and then you can enable credit budgeting. So once you enable credit budgeting here, what that allows for is if I go to my members, and you can see I did this for myself earlier, I set an allocation for myself. So if I want to go set allocation, like I had 1,000, save, and it's going to tell me here that I have 1,000 of 1,000 credits. I can set this as an admin. I can set this for anybody in the org if I want to make sure they're only spending a certain number of credits. last but not least, one tip for admins is that if you are concerned with people accidentally spending credits or being a little loose with what they do have, you can create a custom role that allows or disallows certain privileges to be used. So maybe if you don't want them to be able to do geocoding, or you don't want people to be able to do network analysis, you can disable that in a custom role and then assign that to the user to make sure that they are limited in what they can spend, which again can be helpful if you have to budget. And like I mentioned, lots of great reference docs out there created by us at Esri. Lots of stuff that will kind of lay out all the stuff I talked about. I highly recommend you bookmark some of these things to take a look at later. It's all really great stuff. So that is the overview that I wanted to give. Again, I wanted to make it kind of broad. I wanted to kind of just give you a brief overview of what credits are, right? We went over that they're the currency used in ArcGIS Online, why they're a benefit, because there's such a wide variety of users in ArcGIS Online, and we're only charging you for the portion of the software that you're going to use. If you'd rather have the whole lot at once, again, that's ArcGIS Enterprise for you. So we have both ends of the spectrum, but online we use credits as that, that feature to be able to charge you for just the portion. And then, of course, we went over a couple things that do charge credits, don't charge credits. And at this point, I would love to open it up to any questions that people have. I see there's a lot in the chat. I don't know if I should just open up the chat and take a look there. If people want to ask their questions out loud, I'd be more than happy to kind of start the Q&A session.
Yeah, Sarah, this is Keith. I've been monitoring the chat and can kind of help with this. Number one is on the previous slide, you had a couple of links that, of course, even when we go to YouTube, we won't be able to click those links. So would you mind either putting those into the chat or email me those links so I can get those put into the YouTube description or something like that so people can access those?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll make sure. I'll get them sent to you, and then you can disperse them as you need to, for sure. That
sounds great. Let's see, then I'm scrolling through the questions on the chat. Wilma had a question about, let's see, credit use reports that an administrator can extract. Is there any sort of reporting tools? I know we can kind of dig in. We can actually see who's spending the most amount of credits. I've done things like that, but are there any kind of canned reports or something like that that can be accessed by an admin?
Yeah, definitely. Let's take a look at that. So if we go over to status, and then you can see here we have our dashboard, but we also have reports. The reports option is because we can create a report right here. So if we want to create a report, let's see, and then we would go right here. We can do credits, and we can break it down all right here to what we want to look at. And there's a lot of different options for creating reports, definitely. So while the dashboard is a great live view, we definitely have that option as well, where you can kind of dig into reporting and make sure that you can export that data as well. So yeah, we have that option here.
That's excellent. I hadn't even noticed that. So thank you for pointing that out.
Yeah, absolutely.
Another question that we have is, we see you demonstrated how in ArcGIS Online, we can see the show credits, and it'll actually estimate very closely how many credits will be consumed if we run that process. Is there something like that in ArcGIS Pro? Like, for instance, in Pro, the infographic tool consumes some credits, but I don't know that the person is really told that they're going to be consuming credits before they start clicking away at this really cool tool.
Yeah, and that's a great question. That's something also great to bring up, is that credits aren't just something that's in ArcGIS Online, right? When we talk about credits, it's more of an ArcGIS thing, because you can use it in Pro, you can use it in Insights, ArcGIS Insights, which doesn't necessarily require online. So I am pretty certain in that the latest versions of ArcGIS Pro, and again, you'll have to forgive me because I don't open Pro as often as I open online, but I am pretty certain that ArcGIS Pro does have that show credits option that is similar to the online one for the same type of estimate. I am not 100%, I'm like 90%, but that's one that I can confirm for you. But I'm, again, just kind of going off my gut. I'm like, yeah, that I would think that there is a show credit option there, and I would hope that there is. That's
I
something
think
I'd
you're
advocate
right.
for.
I think you're right in some of those tools that before you actually commit to running the tool, you'll see that it's going to cost X number of credits. I'm not 100% certain either, but I think you're right.
Right.
I have a question. So here at the university, Idaho State University, we have a lot of students who have been using ArcGIS Online for years. And those students will graduate, and sometimes they'll graduate and their account will stay active for a while. And of course, all the stuff that they put out on ArcGIS Online stays there in storage and continuously charges us credits. And we're seeing increased use in ArcGIS Online here at ISU. More students are doing things with that, more faculty and staff the same way. Is there a way that a person can kind of clean all that stuff up easily? What I'm seeing now is I've got to go in, I've got to find the user, I'll go in and look at some reports or whatever and see that, oh, this person hasn't used ArcGIS Online for 2 years, but yet they're storing 50 megabytes in there. But then to delete that, that's quite a process. Going in and finding all those items and deleting that. Is there a way that maybe by deleting the whole user that everything goes away?
Yeah, so that's a great question. Manually, I mean, like, as you're saying, manually, it's a little bit of head work. What we would recommend, what we do on our side, and I actually would be happy to share kind of some of the internal resources that we do have. You can use the Python API to do that. So if you write a little script that actually it can iterate through everything for you, and it can go through and do all of that in the background. So we have a script in support services that we use when anybody leaves or we have to clean out our org. And the Python API is also, it's just a really robust way to do some of those, things that are a little bit heftier manually. So I'm happy to share. I think like I said, we have it's a pretty, basic Python script that I can pass along to help you kind of get started with something like that. But that's going to be the best way to actually go about doing that type of clear out, because you're right. Manually, you do have to click through. You have to make sure they don't own groups. You have to make sure they're not signed anything. But the Python API can just go and do that for you behind the scenes with a click of a button.
Yeah, that would be great. Normally what we do is we ask the user, are you still planning on using this account? Are you still a student? We ask the advisors, some of the faculty, do you have any data that this student may have produced for you? But once we're clear, right now it's quite a chore. So I would appreciate getting access to that API, that script that you have, and so we can modify it a little bit and use it.
Yeah, I'm more than happy to send over some of those resources and help you get started with that.
Well, thank you very much. Now, I have hogged a lot of time. By the way, Jan has posted a link in the chat that folks might be interested in taking a look at. But does anyone else have any questions?